Turns out winning 10 games can really help out with football recruiting. Who would have known?
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Illini. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find us on all your favorite audio platforms. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. If you'd like to support the channel, all I ask is simply hit that like button on this very video. If you're not subscribed already, please do. It costs you guys absolutely nothing, but it helps this channel grow immensely. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. I know we're in the middle of basketball season right now, but I did want to catch up a little bit on the football side, and in particular with the recruiting. If you watched the live show on Wednesday, you noticed that Illinois landed an offensive lineman as I was recording. From Nebraska, Landon Von Segern, a three-star, the fourth highest-ranked prospect from the state of Nebraska, committed to the Illini, becoming, I believe, the fourth recruit of this class and the first offensive lineman. And the offensive line is a position that Illinois is going to be recruiting pretty heavily, as they're going to lose most of their offensive line following next season. Now, I don't think they're going to go completely the prep route. Of course, in this day and age, you're going to be bringing in a lot of transfer talent, and particularly Illinois is going to be going that route. But regardless, it's nice to get the first guy in tow. 6'3", 280 pounds, and just hopefully, again, the fourth recruit of what I think potentially, not just what I'm saying, many others are saying, could be the best recruiting class that Bret Bielema has had in his tenure year. Arguably, maybe the best recruiting class that we've had in 15 years, at least since the Ron Zook era. There's a lot of names that are being attached to the Illini where they're not necessarily the favorites for, but names that traditionally they just wouldn't be involved with. And where does that come from? Of course, going 10-3 in your college football season and being argued as a potential college football playoff contender next season will do wonders for that recruiting. The main guy, obviously, I want to talk about is Trey Taylor. Trey Taylor is a quarterback. Illinois traditionally tries to take one new quarterback every single cycle. And for the most part, we're dabbling with the three stars, who are talented players, but not necessarily fighting off the other major dominant football teams. Trey Taylor is different. 6'3", class of 2007, 186 pounds. Trey Taylor is being recruited by the biggest names in college football. I'm talking about Michigan, I'm talking about Georgia, and I'm talking about Tennessee. According to this 24/7 page, a lot of the biggest teams in the country are interested in Trey. Now, Trey has visited Illinois multiple times, and there's a very good article. I believe Jeremy Werner wrote it for 24/7. I'll try to find the link and post it in the description, where he talks about that Illinois legit has a good opportunity to bring Trey aboard. Not only did Trey's uncle play for the Illini back in the early 2000s, but he seemingly has built a really, really good relationship with not just Barry Lenny Jr., but also Art Sikowski, who looks like he's about to be a future star in the coaching ranks. If they're able to bring a guy in like Trey, now keep in mind, Illinois won 10 games last year. In my opinion, if I had to come up with a win total right now, I would be disappointed if they won anything less than 8. Probably closer to 9 games next year. You keep this momentum up, you're going to be able to bring prospects like Trey Taylor in. You don't necessarily have to worry about, just building up the three-star talent that you have here, which, don't get me wrong, Bret Bielema and the staff has proven they're very adept at doing. We are a developmental program, and that's what we're probably always going to be. But I even talked about it during the season. If there's one thing I could change about this Bret Bielema tenure, it's we're always seemingly the least talented team lined up every Saturday. I do wish that at some point the success that this football team is having will lead to more success in recruiting what I call the game breakers, the 4 stars who you don't necessarily need to coach up as much as you need to coach up some of the other position players. Of course, I trust Brad. Whoever he brings in, the rankings don't matter. Whether it is 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, I know that is for fans like us. But I do think ultimately there's enough research out there, there's enough data out there to show some sort of correlation between team success, player success, and that star rating. And so again, I know Illinois doesn't have a history of being very successful on the football side, but I think it's very clear, and the national media is talking about just how much football has all of a sudden introduced itself to potential college football playoff consideration next year. And this sort of momentum, hopefully, will tide over to the football side as well. It's going to be fun to watch. Of course, make sure you're tuned in to hear right here on Locked On Illini. Next time, I'll have breaking news. Hopefully, it doesn't happen while I'm on the show, like it happened on Wednesday with the offensive lineman. But in the future, if I hear something is impending, I'll let you guys know, and we'll kind of keep tabs on it. And the minute things go official, I'll go live right here on Locked On Illini. So make sure you've hit that like button and you're subscribed to the channel, and you won't miss a thing. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed, that's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Next, I kind of wanted to talk about Will Riley. Will is the guy who I've made the focus of my episodes in the past about whether it's time to panic. Obviously, he's gotten off to a great start this year. And, as an aside, as a little distraction, moving forward, if a freshman has a great game in the opening game of the season, let's just not put any weight on it. Okay, that happened with DGL last year. It happened with Will Riley this year. I understand the excitement of a brand new season, a brand new player you've never seen before. And of course, immediately you get caught up in that energy and you think the potential is unlimited. But at least let's turn down a notch when it comes to that level of excitement. I do have a favor to ask. Locked On Illini Nation, my everydayers. Now that Ben Humrickhouse has essentially shooting his way out of his slump that he was in, and not even the slump when it comes to shooting. I talked about the main thing I wanted to see was his rebounding numbers go up, and they have been, in particular, over the last 4 or 5 games. The main guy that fans seem to be targeting now about his lack of production is Will Riley. And you know what? Honestly, a lot of it is justified. He's one of the highest ranking Illinois recruits that we've had in a very, very long time. I think ultimately he finished top 20 in this past class. Again, he had a 31-point game against Eastern Illinois in the first game of the season. Let me ask for one favor. Forget I said all that. Okay? Myself, I have been critical of Will over the last couple weeks, and even in the beginning of the year when he was playing well. What I said was, you can obviously tell he's a very talented basketball player. You can tell that he was put on this earth to score baskets. If you don't believe me, just watch his high school tape. Sure, it struggled a little bit here once we stopped playing patsies in college basketball, but I don't think a scorer just forgets ultimately how to score. I think it's just one of those things where once he has a good game, and again, I've said this before, I think Will Riley is going to win us a game simply by himself at some point this season. My biggest critique on Will earlier in the year was he just seemed to waste so much energy. The analogy I always brought it up was he looked like a little kid being allowed to play with his big brothers and sisters on the pickup floor. And so he was always trying to impress, just going a little too over the top, a little too energetic. And I felt like the game of basketball was going a little too fast for him. And I talked about, hey, let's just wait for the game to slow down. So my favor to Locked On Illini Nation, to my everydayers, is to wipe your memory clean of who Will Riley is. take away that ranking, take away the fanfare, the buzz, the electricity that came with Will Riley when he committed to the Illini, and judge him for what he is, a freshman forward on the Illini, and judge him on how he's played from a month and a half ago to now. Because I've said this on my live post games before. I wanted to get to it on Wednesday's episode. I just simply ran out of time. But I actually think the game is starting to slow down for Will. It seems like the coaching staff has told him, hey, let's just focus on 2 or 3 things, and then the scoring will come later. And right now, sure, the shots still aren't falling, but all that energy that he played with earlier on in the season, I believe he has slowed down a little bit. I think he's calmed down, and that tells me the game of college basketball is slowing down for him. What I do like is he doesn't seem to hesitate too much on shooting the shots because, again, they're going down in practice. I know that because otherwise he wouldn't be playing. We've counted on Will to play basically point forward at a couple stretches during this season, in particular when Kasparis was out. I think if he were viewed as the typical forward that Illinois used to get before the last couple of years where the recruiting has really gone up a couple notches, if you're looking at him as like a 130 ranked guy in the country and you see that the slow development that he's had over the past month and a half, I think Illini Nation would be really positive on the trajectory of where this is going. I think even the conversation about Will would be in a much different manner, in a much different taste. Look, Will can't help that he was so highly regarded in high school. And, he can't help that he came in with all that buzz and fanfare. What he can do is just control what he does on the court. And I think it's in the Illini fans' best interest to take Will for what he is right now. Is he a superstar in his freshman year? Doesn't look like it. Is he a star his freshman year? It doesn't look like it. Can he be a valuable role player on this basketball team? A month and a half ago, I wasn't sure. Right now, after watching the last 2 games, I'm getting a little bit more positive vibes from that. And again, the scoring is not there, but I'm starting to think that he's playing within the offense a little bit better, and he's starting to learn how to play on the defensive side of the basketball, which was never his strong suit to begin with. But I think he's kind of learning from the team culture that Brad Underwood and the staff, and honestly the rest of the team. The rest of the team is a fantastic defensive team. I think Will Riley is starting to learn and just get better practicing with these guys every single day. So, not to say that I've given up on Will being a star by any stretch of the imagination. Absolutely not. But from this point forward, the way I'm viewing Will, and maybe all I can do is suggest you guys do the same, is just view him compared to what he was maybe a month and a half ago. I do think that the crazy little kid who's just moving around, jittering, and again, making unnecessary movement and attempting shots more difficult than they needed to be is gone. Now Will is attacking the rim a little bit more. He's still shooting the wide open threes. He does hesitate on occasion, which he didn't do earlier on in the year. But I know that Brad's going to be taking every practice and letting him know, hey, we want you to shoot that basketball. Shoot it every single time. I think because Will is watching his own film in the locker room with the team, and he's going to be given a lot of positive feedback on everything else that he's doing, that the shots are going to fall. I truly believe that. He was too good of a scorer in high school, and we've seen glimpses of it in his freshman year here in college basketball. The kid is young. Not everybody's going to be Kasparis Shakishonis. Kasparis is, in my opinion, at this point, bar none, the best freshman that we've ever had here at Illinois. And obviously, we've seen Tomislav play really well in his first year in college basketball as well, but sometimes you just have to separate things. Will Riley, obviously physically, maybe he wasn't quite ready for the college basketball game. But when I look at a player, I want to see that he's trying. I want to see that he's getting better. And while he may have regressed a little bit from earlier on in the year, Brad Underwood, by the way, doesn't think so. He's commented himself. That's just what happens when you play against inferior opponents. You tend to get your confidence high. I do think, at least over the last 2 games in particular, where I've tried to focus a little bit more on Will, that he's starting to turn the corner. And if nothing else, he can be a valuable basketball player on this team coming off the bench. if that 5-star rating didn't follow him along everywhere, and again, all that buzz from when he did ultimately commit to the Illini this past summer, if you're able to just forget about that and just watch the continued development and growth of Will this year, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. It's not shocking to me that Brad Underwood decided to start Will when Kasparis was gone. I know there's a lot of talk out there, to maybe reward guys like DGL and give him more of those minutes. Keep in mind, Will's minutes are going down as it is. Okay, so that's one less thing to complain about. Brad Underwood sees the same thing that we see, and that's that maybe, at least this year, Will Riley's not going to end up being the Marcus Damask that Kasparis needs. That doesn't mean that Will Riley's not going to be a valuable player. The reason Will Riley started in those games in Kasparis' absence is, again, I think Brad is rewarding hard work in practice. And also, Will Riley still is the typical Brad Underwood player. He's got length, he can shoot, and that's what troubles so many of the opponents against the Illini. If you start Boswell and DGL in your backcourt, all of a sudden you have a smaller backcourt, a backcourt that looks like a lot of other backcourts in college basketball. But with Will Riley, you slide in a 6'8" forward to replace a 6'6" guard. Again, it's just lots of length, and that's what Brad Underwood wants. So again, I'm not giving up on Will Riley by any stretch, and I still want to reiterate that I think he wins the game simply by himself at some point this season. But I will say that I've adjusted my expectations a little bit, and I think it becomes a lot easier to do when you wipe your memory clean of what he was supposed to be and just judge him for what he is slowly becoming, at least compared from what he looked like a month and a half before. This message is brought to you by Prize Picks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, Prize Picks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. Now it's playoff time. There's no better way to get in on the action than Prize Picks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players. And if your pick hits, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right, 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Run your game. And that'll wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you so much for your continued support. We're almost at that 2,000 subs on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed already, please make sure you do. And also, if you are a subscriber on YouTube, hey, it's the end of the week. If you don't mind, find your favorite audio platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast, whatever it might be. Find Locked On Illini there as well. Same name, same everything. And maybe I can just accompany you as you drive to or from work every single day. If you'd like Illinois banter all day, every day, make sure you join our Discord. That's all we're doing. We're also talking professional sports, life, all in general. We got a fun little community growing that way. I've got a fun preview for the Michigan State Spartans episode coming out on Friday morning. We just got finished filming that with Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans. I think that interview went really, really well. It was a crossover episode. So he asked me a couple of questions about the Spartans, and I did vice versa. I'm really looking forward to your guys' thoughts on that. But it's going to be a big game on Sunday. Just make sure you're tuned in right here on Locked On Illini. So make sure you stay tuned and you're subscribed for any breaking news. As it happens, I'll go live right here and we can talk about it. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.